thanks a lot for having me. Thanks to the organizers, and thank you for being here and listen. I'm Hugo. I have a bit of a, I need to pass screens with this. Let me see. Oh, there you go. And then I need to pass them here for my notes, so bear with me. Before we start, there you go. Hey, follow me on Twitter. Okay. This is very, very important. I'm not joking. Like, take your apps. If you're on Twitter, if you are not, create an account. If you used to have one, log in again. Follow me on Twitter. I want to become the person with more followers in the world. Okay, so help me out. Let's go next. So I'm head of design at Monzo. Does everybody here know what Monzo is? Yeah. So I don't need to explain it too much. Someone doesn't know? There you go. So I'll explain it. So it's a digital bank. If you are not from the UK, you might not have seen it. And it sounds kind of arrogant now to ask, like, oh, you should know this company. Back in the day, I would need to explain it. So it's a bank, but we don't have branches on the high street. Okay. So the key is, like, you do everything from your smartphone, and you have a MasterCard connected to it, and it works very well. We started 3.5 years ago. I have the privilege that I've been there since day one, when the company were 13 people. Now my team, the design team, we are 12. So the design team is almost as big as the company was at some point, which is it's kind of cool. And this is, yeah, what we offer. This is the hot coral card. That thing is neon. Okay, it's fluorescent. So it reflects, basically takes UV light and it reflects it at visible light. Most people like it very much. You go to, like, a coffee shop and people compliment you on how cool the card is, which is super cool. And then you have a Sleek app that allows you to do, like, it's a current account, right? So you can get your salary paid in, you can split the bill. We actually launched it today, like 2 hours ago or something. You get instant notifications of everything. It's pretty cool. And that's why probably you've heard about it, because we have 1 million people now with current accounts in the UK. To me, this is mind-blowing, just in the UK. Like, and then there's this other, like, I have a bunch of stats that, again, so there's 20,000 people signing up every week. We're growing super, super fast, and that apparently represents 15% of all the current accounts that are open on a week, or like a single day. So on an industry where traditionally, like big legacy banks, 4 or 5 of them, were holding like 90% of the market. Now suddenly you have a player that is 3 years old that is taking 15% of that market already. And this is the thing that I'm the proudest of. That is our customer satisfaction. This NPS, Net Promoter Score, is one of these bullshit metrics to tell you how happy people are. Someone told me, like, it's terrible, but it's the less terrible, right? Like, the alternatives are even worse. The reality is that Monzo today is kind of like the gold standard on how to keep customers happy in banks in the UK. So yeah, even oh, they're taking pictures of me. I'll be okay. I say always this. I want to be a comedian. Okay, I come to these things just to have the opportunity of talking in front of people. So I'm not even kidding. So I want to use this time to talk about why this has happened, right? Like, what's in the market, what's in an industry that allows a new player to get there and get 1 million people to use their product and to be happy about it. And banking is, yeah, I think it's all about the expectations. Chad was talking about this, about Revolut. Expectations have changed, right? People are used to different things today, and finance hasn't really kept up with that, if you think about it. So I have a bunch of examples, I think. Oh no, first I want to talk about this. Do you see? That's why I need my notes. So the trust thing. We've heard someone from HSBC, I think, before, talking about the amazing trust that banks have. That's not true. Like, when you talk with customers, and I tell you, when we started Monzo, the first thing we did, that I personally did, was to interview people, okay? We interviewed more than 100 people. before, like at the same time that we were working on things, right? Like it was a conversation just to see, hey, how do you manage your money? How happy you are with your accounts? How do you budget? What credit do you have? What all this stuff. And the reality is like people didn't trust the banks. They had to have an account because they cannot have the money under the bed, right? But they weren't happy. And actually the stats prove that I think it's like a 55% of people think that their bank don't have their own interests at heart when they take decisions. That's massive. Like 50% of people. It's like trust is really not there. I think people don't have an alternative. And examples of this, I guess, are like cases of misconduct in like huge corps, financial crisis, and all that kind of stuff. I'm from Spain, okay? In Spain, the financial crisis did hit very similarly to, I think, in the UK. And the situation is very similar in there. Like, it was like politicians involved, like people with like these, they call them the black cards. So people that were in the government or in banks, and they had cards that they could literally go to an ATM and get like 500 euros and go for dinner with money from their customers. Like, it's crazy. So I have another example of these things being kind of rubbish. Yeah. I'm trying to not use many words, okay? So I can use the same slides if I speak in Spanish. Yeah, I have my notes here. So this guy, we were interviewing a user. This was 3 years ago, okay? Probably the situation is slightly different now. This person, we were trying to find out how was him managing their finances. And like, hey, how do you log in on the website? Do you use the app? And this guy was a user of a legacy bank, okay, a customer of a legacy bank. I won't say which one. And he didn't use the iPhone app. No, it was Android. The app, the mobile app. Allegedly, because what he said is that they didn't have an app. And we knew they did. So he was like, wait a minute, why do you think they don't have an app? So we told him, we're positive these banks have an app. Let's install it together because we wanted to see how they did. And this guy went to the App Store, searched for this bank, and he said, you see, there's no bank, there's no app. And it was there. It was like the first result. And we were like, isn't it that one? And he said, no, that's a fake. Like, the design of the app and the icon was so bad that this is real. I'm not making this up. The other stuff is comedy. This is true. This guy thought that app couldn't be the same app of the bank that has so many offices in the streets. That makes you think, right? Like, I don't know, I have these examples here. Sorry, I need to go back to that all the time. Like, how they don't care about that. How legacy banks, how huge industries, how they haven't cared about what you have in your pocket. And that's just an example, right? Like, all these things of banks being always only open when you're at work. It's like, yeah, like, when I'm not in the office, that is when I need to the bank, you're closed. So all those things, banks like Monzo are changing, right? And customer support 24/7, which I think is super cool, is a chat. So I wanted to use this example. Do you recognize this thing? This is the footer of Gmail. I do remember the first time I saw this in my life. So I was in, I think, last year of high school or in uni, and I got an account. And this thing blew my mind, like to see that suddenly I had an account, an email account, that could hold 1,000 megabytes of information. What I had before was a Hotmail account that could hold, I think, 12 megabytes. And the biggest, this is mental when you think about it, like the biggest attachment was 1 megabyte. If someone was trying to send you something bigger, it would bounce. Think about it for a second. Like, when was the last time that you got an email bouncing? Right? That used to happen. Like, you would receive an email saying, oh, email quota exceed, and you would accept it. And suddenly these folks come and say, like, whoa, this is over. Like, that's not a problem. Like, you have amazing search. This screenshot, I think, is from the first day that they did like the beta and all that stuff. They already had keyboard shortcuts. Like, they were really ahead of the game. And yeah, it's just an example, right? Yahoo, whatever, they were the same. Another one, Spotify. This I do remember clearly. I was in my I don't know how you call it, like thesis year, last year of uni. I was in Finland. Someone got me an invite for this. I searched for a song. I clicked play and started playing. But next thing I did, I studied computer science. Okay, so I kind of understood what was happening behind the scenes. I did the seek here to change the point of the song and to try to break it, and it was playing. I was like, how the fuck have they done this, right? Like, this is incredible. So, and I didn't have like an amazing internet connection or anything. I mean, years before I had similar experience with Napster, but it wasn't that good, right? Like, so today, some people have that kind of feeling with Monzo, and I'm so happy about that. Like, people, we do this thing of, you go to a store and we send you a push notification, like Revolut was talking. Again, like, it's not rocket science, but we take care of the details. We show you like your like emoji and a nice name and your balance, and then you open it, and then you have like a map and categories and transaction enrichment and all that stuff. And there are so many examples at Monzo that give that kind of thing. So for example, the ledgers, like when we send you the card for free, it comes on a very, very nice ledger. I've even been looking into perfume to do it, so when you receive it, it feels very, very nice. Compare that with your regular bank thing that comes with like a sticky glue dot that is like crappy paper, those things, right? Things like freezing the card and unfreezing, big banks are starting to do this. To have budgeting baked in the app, so important. And even things that now I'm so proud that some banks are starting to do, like the gambling block. We released this thing that allows people that have problems with potential addictions to gambling to set themselves limits. And they can say, hey, don't let me spend in this kind of merchant. And if then they want to turn it off, they need to talk with customer support and stuff like that. It's helping so many people. To me, those are like the Spotify example, right? So all this is about the customer experience, right? It's about this thing that it really pisses me off is when in finance people talk about product and they mean like financial product. So it's like an overdraft is a product, an overdraft with a different rate is a different product. It's like, no, like the whole thing is the product. It's about the customer experience. It's about becoming that trust that banks used to talk, to actually execute on that and fulfill that and to say, we will be the interface. And I mean the interface in terms of like the layer in between and the actual app as well, right? Like to be that thing in between, that brand that you can trust, that is transparent. We talk very openly when we have problems, when we make mistakes, when we have outages, we write postmortems and we share them. We have a community forum. We've done some crowdfunding as well. So we have thousands of people now that are investors in Monzo, and they hold us accountable, which is super, super important. So yeah, to be all that kind of interface. And the goal is this thing of making money work for everyone, right? So become the financial hub that in a smart way can connect with different services and solve all kind of like all your needs in between, get you the best deals, to stop you from being screwed by fees, and all the good stuff. So yeah, that's me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hugo.
Thank you.
You talked a lot there about trust, and particularly people losing trust or perhaps not having so much trust in legacy banks.
Yes.
How do you, as a still quite a young company, how do you get people to trust you?
So I think there's an element of designing interactions that start in a small way. So you won't trust someone to, I don't know, like it's similar to relationships and stuff like that, right? Like you don't meet someone and you instantly go to live together or whatever. Like you have small interactions where there's very little risk, like going for coffee or whatever. Like worst case scenario, you waste 20 minutes, right? And then you excuse yourself and you smoke bomb, right? And disappear. You can do that with Monzo, right? Like you can do that with Monzo. You can sign up, try it out. If it's not good, like throw the car away. If it's decent, you use it a bit more. And there's a point where you use it more and more and more and more. So I think it's that element of trust. It's like, how does Spotify build trust? By working very well. You sign up, you start playing music, it works, that kind of thing.
We heard from Revolut earlier, and they're expanding into all sorts of different areas within finance. Does Monzo have any plans to enter into sort of new fields within that area?
That's a very good question. I think for us, the process is probably similar in terms of strategy. So there's there's an element there of like going international. Like our ambition is global. We want to make money work for everyone. So there's that element. For us, I think it's about finding the right partners. So we are not going to be the best experts in everything, right? So it's about finding all those partners and connecting the pieces. We're working on things like savings accounts, and they are not in our balance sheet, but they work very well. Like we are trying it now, and it's great. So to get to that element, like we are trying to not even talk about the marketplace anymore because it kind of sounds like bullshit, but conceptually is that, right? It's like how can you make that hub, connect all the pieces, and make the products. It's a bit like Spotify, like at the end is the music that you're listening, right? So it's that you don't care about if that's on the, how do they call, like the label, the record label or whatever, like who holds that archive of the Beatles. You don't care, right? Like you want to listen to the music. So it's that kind of thing.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Hugo, for the presentation and for the jokes as well.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.